forecast said that there'd be snowflakes. Whoa, you can make us see it your way. No way, gasoline and propane, more flames. Oh no, no more snowflakes.
We can all get along, but there's no stopping. Ay, everybody's wrong, that's a real problem. Ay, they don't want to hear it, but they still talking. Ay, soon enough, we running out of options. Ay, this ain't gonna end till it's in the coffin. Ay, we ain't gonna be friends till we try to squash it. Ay, I don't know how we can make amends or we drop it. Snowflakes melt when it's hot, kid.
Y'all are so fake. Oh no, the forecast said that there'd be snowflakes. Whoa, you can make us see it your way. No way, gasoline and propane, more flames. Oh no, no more snowflakes.
This is Amaria Sweet with HeartMind Expressions, and I've got three of us from the Fab Four. This is, of course, Sue McClure and Alex Spielman. Dr. Bloom won't be with us tonight. He's been having some pretty rough late nights. I think all of us can feel those energies lately. It's been pretty crazy. So a few shout outs really quick. Of course, thank you so much to Soma Fusion and Katie Kamara for all the work that you do for us and hosting our shows for iEvolveTV, Rev Radio Las Vegas, and C4OC Radio Networks. And of course, to all of our listeners and everybody else that streams us. Thank you so much, guys. Of course, also check out Savvy clothing line for women. It is fitwear for women of all ages and sizes. It's truly an amazing, fun clothing line. Goes to a great cause. Savvy.com/Soma Fusion. SAVVI.com/Soma Fusion. And we've got a phone number actually tonight. I didn't pull that up for people to call in. Let me grab that really quick. It's just going to pop me off for a second. Let's see. Where was that placed,
The
guys?
number tonight, if you are US, it's 1-929-436-2866. That is 1-929-436-2866. And there'll be a meeting ID. That number is 522-657-2748. That again is 522-657-2748.
Thanks so much, Alex.
Awesome. Thank you, Alex.
So lots of interesting things going on around the world. Of course, unfortunately, we've heard a lot about Australia and different things that are going on around there as far as mandates are going. Excuse me. And some of us in the States here are experiencing firsthand, including myself. I actually just lost my job because I don't feel safe with different things that are, experimental going on. I know supposedly the FDA is approving things. That's not enough for a lot of us, and mandating those kind of things, it just goes beyond our civil rights. And
It's sexist. They haven't even called Woman Day yet either. They just mandate. So no, I'm kidding. I'm sorry. Go continue.
And it's interesting. Like whenever I did my Title VII, it's a Civil Rights Act for religious exemption. I put, of course, my spiritual, I'm trying to think how I would even call it, because I don't really consider myself religious, but I do take my health and my body very seriously and what I put into it. I mean, I look at everything on my food labels. I want to know what's going to go into my body. And I quit using Big Pharma around 2013. And because I used to be on about 22 different meds that I'd rotate about 16 at a time, from heart meds to depression to stuff for vertigo, for nausea, pain, Like how there was so many things that I had to detox from. And I felt a lot better with that. I've had different things that have damaged me from different jabs. Excuse me, not just the one that's being pushed right now, but so I've taken more of a healthy route for myself that I believe is better for me. I feel better going more naturopathic, more Ayurvedic, and I also don't feel safe to put a face diaper on. I feel like it inhibits my ability to breathe. I do have some asthma, but it's not any of my jobs right to say, hey, you need to wear a face diaper or show us your medical proof that you've got asthma or you have COPD or whatever else. That's a HIPAA violation. I
Yeah,
don't
it's
need
your
to be
personal
giving
rights.
everybody
Yeah,
my medical records.
yeah.
That's my private information. And I don't feel comfortable sharing any of that stuff with people. And, they don't need to know my medical records. That's it. Like I said, a HIPAA violation. And so those two things are being violated. But then also the test, the little swabby thing that they like to put up your nose. I have done one of those tests. And when I noticed it was wet, it had little black things in it that I could see after the fact. And there's been a lot of research on it showing that there's some graphene in it. And there's other things going on. The guy that actually created the test even has admitted that it can't decipher between a live or a dead virus. And also there's other viruses that it can't decipher between the main one that it's being used for and strep throat or not pneumonia, but what's the other one? My brain is like farting. Like the flu. Trying to remember some of the other ones. I had several different viruses that were listed. And so it's giving false positives for things that it's not testing for, or it should be testing for. And so, I mean, the only reason I knew I had the virus that it was testing for is because I lost my sense of taste and smell. And so, I mean, I've had that at least 3 times.
Yeah,
So
there's
anyway,
symptoms for that.
right. And I don't feel comfortable with any of those things. And so that's what came up. I did put that in my petition, as well as links to pathology reports, to physicians and others that have been researching and looking around the world at what this shot is doing, as well as what the actual virus is doing and the effects or basically the lack thereof. And that this whole thing is a scam. But my boss or HR person wasn't willing to even have a discussion on it. And so I did let him know that what was going on is FASCIST, which fascism basically. Like to talk a little bit about the differences, because we've had some discussions online here and there about the difference between socialism and communism, what the NAZIS stand for or have stood for, and really those cycles, how they're coming back into play at this point, how we've been having a lot of our rights violated. And so I am actually going through the process of litigation. And so I am going to be suing the company for, basically violation of my civil rights, because I don't feel safe, nor do I consent in using any of those methods. I feel like I'm doing a great job in keeping myself healthy naturally, and I've got great hygiene. We shouldn't be punishing healthy people. So anyway, Alex, do you
Hi.
want to kind of jump in and talk
Well,
about a little bit?
actually,
Let's do a
if
civics lesson,
I
or
can, yeah, if I can actually jump in first, well,
rock and
I just
roll.
want to add, a lot of businesses don't want to have anything to do with the rules like yours did. It's because one, they feel that it's kind of muddying the brain, to just do this. They feel that it's just better to comply with whatever rules that lay out there. And I guess they have this little fear, and that's the big key right there is fear. Fear gets people to comply a certain way. And they have this fear that the business could go down. They could actually get sued. But here's the ironic thing. going to get sued anyway. So it's a question of who are you wanting to get sued by. I just don't think that it's a good idea for business to just simply comply with things that are out there. If you are living in America, which you have said before, this is your country here. And in your country, you fight for what you should be fighting for, your freedom, your rights. And if you just simply comply with what the government wants you to do, then what are you doing here? I mean, what are you doing as an American? I mean, what are you standing for? In this free country. If it's a free country, then you need to stand up for freedom, and it needs a constant check. It always needs a constant check. It's just one of those things, and it's one of our responsibility and rights as an American citizen to not only check your behavior, but also kind of look at other people and say, well, if I don't want to do something a certain way, you shouldn't be making me. So that's where we talk a little bit about when we had our Karen's episode, other people checking other people, but are you checking other people for the sake of doing what you are told by some outside entity? Or are you checking to make sure that we are still free? That's the thing that's need to check on. And kind of another thing, if I can kind of touch on it, one of the things that I have been concerned about is watching people be afraid that this outside entity is going to punish you. And here's the thing, this is sort of something how you treat a little kid, where you give them conditions, you give them ways of how they should be. And if they don't comply, there's going to be a consequence. That's not how it's supposed to work here. It's one thing between a parent and a child, you're raising them, but we are adults here. And if you take something away from them and not give it back to them until they comply, what do we call that, guys?
Coercion.
Yeah, exactly. So
Yay.
it's just something that we constantly are being bombarded with. Just a lot of that everywhere we go. Here's another thing that bothers me lately. Has anyone really done any studies on long-term effects of breathing in your own CO2 when you wear the face diaper? I'm still waiting for the report.
It's funny you mentioned that, because OSHA is actually involved when it comes to workplaces in hazardous environments. There has to be a certain level of CO2 which is considered safe. Otherwise, it's considered a hazardous environment, and proper PPE must be provided.
Right.
So if they've done that, then they haven't tested how much that you're getting wearing a face diaper then.
No. What's funny is that's the exception to the matter, because
an exception. Oh, I see.
It's an exception because reasons which they've never actually properly given. They just said, "Oh, for your own safety, you have to wear it," and then I'll go, "But I'm suffocating with this on." Oh, that's okay. It's for your safety.
Right.
Isn't it better not to have it that way? We're not. I mean, I was perfectly fine, 16 months without it.
But okay, so they're making you wear it. You can't breathe in it, but they have a certain regulations of how much CO2 levels, or how the airspace has to be regulated. Do you see how they're basically spinning around?
Welcome to Clown World.
Yeah.
Wow. It makes so much sense. OSHA totally makes so much sense.
Oh yeah. Speaking of OSHA, real quickly, the Court of Appeals upheld their decision recently. Wow. Today, they're just sitting. No. So the Court of Appeals upheld their stay on on the federal mandate they were trying to try to shoehorn into the OSHA. The mandate, the Court of Appeals basically stated that it is a gross misuse of power to mandate all employers of over 100 workers because you're not considering every single individual's own personal health.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Right.
that's going to be on ice for a while until they find a way to litigate that properly. But I don't think they are, even though right now they're saying violate the order by the Court of Appeals. But I don't think you want to do that.
Mm.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
anyways, shall we go into the classifications of things?
Yeah. So
Let's
we
rock and
doing
roll.
what's
Let's do
called
that.
civics for dummies.
Civics for Dummies. Yay. Yeah, let's talk about civics. Yay. I don't sound so I sound very enthusiastic about this.
I think
I-
everything's been so high energy. We're all just
This
like,
is just totally, yeah, this is totally up your alley. This is totally up your alley.
it is up my alley. It's sad that we have to constantly reiterate this. And it just shows you how poor we are
Right.
at constantly understanding that there are differences to things. And that's not I'm not faulting anyone in particular. That's just how things are, unfortunately, right now. But I think what I'm gonna kind of jump into some of my uh the most common ones. And I think the most common one for most people would be socialism, because that's the one that they're like, oh, we can all share. We're all going to be wonderful. Everything's just going to be, sunshine and rainbows.
They name
know.
different countries. My oldest daughter was naming different countries. I don't remember what they are. And they said, well, they have socialism, so it's a good thing.
Like, oh, let me guess. They're going to say like Norway, Sweden, Finland, Denmark, Iceland. No,
Yeah.
they're just high taxed, social safety nets capitalist nations. they just have a very strong social what's that called, safety net.
Yeah.
We don't have that here. We don't have that massive social safety net, because the way our society's basically decided to figure things out is that the best way to get someone out of poverty and the best way to get somebody out of misfortune is to provide them with a good job so that they can provide themselves. Kind of like the analogy of if you give a man a fish, you feed him for a day, and if you teach a man a fish, he can eat for a lifetime.
Yeah.
That's the difference. The safety nets are not going to help you if you do not know how to get yourself out of them. You're going to be reliant on it.
Yeah.
So that's what basically. But if you want to look at a actual socialist country, I think probably the best example of a socialist country, as the definition is, I think potentially could be parts of Europe, or even parts of South America, where they basically have some control over the economy. But I think there is no true socialist country right now that really goes by the proper definition. I mean, yes, we could talk about places like Cuba and China being socialist, but they're more than just that, because, and I'll get into when we talk about communism. But socialism is we're sharing things for the benefit of everybody, and that includes the economy and politics and everything like that. Excuse me. But if you want an older example, it would be like, for example, the USSR would be a good example. But as we're talking about that, and I talked about China, let's move into communism real quickly, because once again, it's going to be hard to describe communism because there has never been a true communist state. I know, crazy. People talk about it all the time. Of course, we have communism. Of course, it's around. It's everywhere, right? If you go by what Karl Marx has stated within the Communist Manifesto, communism is the utopia after the transition through socialism. So unless you've completely transitioned out of socialism into communism, you have not, which we have never seen, because every time a country goes into a socialist transition, it collapses.
It usually, oh, I thought it usually stays there, which is a lot of it's been doing.
It collapses because one country that was transitioning was Venezuela. Now,
Yeah.
in Venezuela, their inflation relative to the dollar is over 1,000%.
Jeez.
So we're talking about the most expensive bill they have. When we're talking like currency, like a dollar bill, but their currency is called the bolivar. You can get a 50 million bolivar bill and barely buy bread, if there's bread. These people, and this is a country that was the third most powerful economy in the Western Hemisphere, about 40 years ago. It was on par with the United States relative to its size.
That's
And
really
now we're
sad.
seeing social disorder. We have the government literally shooting at its own people due to the riots down there. It's horrendous.
Jeez.
But let's say, all right, and that's kind of, so let's explain how communism is supposed to work, right? So in socialism, it's everybody working together for the common good, economy, all like that. In communism, it's the state that owns all property, it owns all money, it owns all business, it is everything. It is, like, for example, 1984, but in a country. It is INSOC in that aspect. It will tell you how to eat, when to eat, who to sleep with, how many children you're going to have, what career you're going to have, when you're going to die, when you're going to retire, etc., etc. It controls everything about a person. It is horrible. And I can tell you it's horrible from people I know who have lived in those conditions. I have one personal friend. She was originally from the Czech Republic during the time of the Soviet Union. And it was abysmal. I'm not going to go into it. It gets rather graphic, as I've already gone into. But hey, let's talk about the one that everybody likes to use as a derogatory, but never uses properly: fascism. No one likes to use that freaking word properly. I have no idea. Everyone says, "Oh, that's communist. Oh, that's communist." I'm like, no, it's not communist. It's fascist. And I'm not this crazy, woke guy, claiming everybody is, well, you know what, because apparently someone got offended. No, I'm going to use the word as it's properly defined, which is, it's when the government and private businesses collude with one another in order to pick winners and losers. So let's talk about these wonderful mandates, right? In a communist country, the state, since it controls everything, can just says, you're going to do it. You have no reason not to take it. You're going to be a good person and take it right then there. There's no like exemptions. There's nothing like that. It's just the state tells you what to do, where to do it, how to do it. And fascism, it's the government goes, hey, Amazon, or hey, Disney, or hey, Taco Bell, or something like that, right? You're going to mandate this, because if you don't, we're not going to give you some fantastic contracts, right? If you're not going to get this money that you got from us unless you mandate things, unless you do the bidding of the government. And then you'll have like Amazon go, well, we can't do that. Half of our income comes from these contracts. We have to do it. And then they start doing it. As you can see it was the big companies that started doing things before it was the smaller companies. So you had your Amazons, you had your Microsofts, you had your Facebooks who did that stuff. And now they're trying to do this for the small companies. And the reason why the small companies aren't doing it is because if they don't have the workforce, how are they making money? They can't make money because there's not a workforce to counteract the labor versus income versus overhead costs. You can't run a company properly.
That's how you actually know that there is somebody behind the company, how they talk about different companies go woke, as to put it. They end up tweeting things or saying things that we normally don't see them say, and they come out saying it. Well, who's directing them to talk like that or act like that or be like that all of a sudden?
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
and a lot of times they'll say, look, if you say this on Twitter, or if you do that on Facebook, or what we call Meta now, if you do these things, we will give you extra moolah. We'll give you extra money. We'll give you extra advertisement rights. I mean, there's always constant amount of bargaining and what do we? It
it's like a goodie.
bribery. It's a
Bribery, coercion.
Yeah.
Honey
I
pot
mean, they're stuck because they already have a contract with the company by
Well, then,
somebody higher up than their
well-
even their actual CEO.
Right. Well, and they were doing their little excuse of it's for the better of to make sure that everyone's safe from this particular virus, which no, I really do think
It
and
doesn't
agree that
make
they've got to be
sense. Yeah.
they've got to be getting some sort of a kickback to be that like crazy weird over it.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense. I mean, especially a video of the woman on the airline was upset because the person wouldn't hand over the card and show his card, and he didn't have one, and she refused to sit next to him, and she said that she had gotten the ouchie, and it was like, well, she's gotten the ouchie, what are you worried about? It's almost like she kind of forgot what the point of getting the ouchie is.
But it's like the best way I can talk about it without going into a lot of these controversial terms, right?
Yeah.
But let's talk about copper tone, the sunscreen, right? Let's say you're at the beach, right? And you need it and you have sunscreen, right? Imagine you're at the beach and you have sunscreen and the person next to you is like, well, I have sunscreen. I don't want to get a burn if you don't put sunscreen on. Right? Well,
Yeah.
how is me not wearing sunscreen going to help you from getting a burn or sunburn? That's not going to help it. If I want to take it, that's wonderful. Remember, and the reason why I'm talking about sunscreen right now is because some people are naturally resistant to getting burned much faster than others, right?
I'm one of them. So I
Yeah.
understand.
I have like Mediterranean olives complexion, and that comes from me having Sicilian background heritage, right? That naturally those areas are going to be much more adapted to intense sunlight versus say somewhere else. Like say Nordic countries, they will burn a little bit better, a little bit faster because they have paler skin.
Right.
Generally speaking, not saying everybody. I'm just saying generally
Well,
speaking.
somebody's going to say that that's different, though. This is sunburn. It's the same thing when I said something about somebody holding up an umbrella and say, well, my umbrella's not going to work unless you use yours, And but I've had used these examples and people have said, well, that's different. This is about breathing in and out, breathing in the oxygen, breathing out, this sickness and whatever or not. So
Well, and it's
What would you say to
interesting.
that?
Dr. John Bergman was talking about it on a video I actually just recently posted on my Facebook, and you can find it on his YouTube page. It's under the playlist, and I went down to VACCINATIONS, so pokes basically. But I think it was the first one. It's only like 15 minutes, either the first or second video, and he talks about all the different levels of what's going on with this particular, shot and stuff. And so really interesting. I'd say if you guys haven't seen it, take a look at it because there's a lot of things on there that like the mainstream is actually admitting to, but it's not getting the coverage that it should be to show people what's actually going on. So it's really interesting.
Well, yeah. So going back to those different civics things real quickly, you may hear two other terms more commonly than fascism or communism, and those terms would be corporatism. You may hear that one, and you may also hear crony capitalism. These are more economics than they are civics, but they're generally used in the same kind of tense. Crony capitalism and corporatism are basically used interchangeably, and essentially they pick the winners and the losers. So your Amazons, like I was saying, will be more powerful because they have so much more influence than your small mom and pop. That's what you see right now. Really, that is what you're seeing. You see, mom and pop shops are not doing very well because they don't have that. Well, let's be honest. They don't get protected. They don't have that safety shield of billions of dollars that they can use for lawsuits or overhead or whatever have you. They are literally making what they can and paying off the bills that they have. That is it. They're not getting these handouts unless they can, if they're getting, say, a special type of loan. But generally they're not. All I got to say about that.
Nice.
Yeah, a lot of the businesses don't want to comply for the reason because they don't want to lose their workers. They also don't want to comply because they feel that they have, the right to let the workers decide. Well, the company decides. A lot of them has fought back. They've even put signs on our doors that saying you can walk in freely. You don't need to wear the face diaper. If you're sick, then don't come here. Everything is founded on
Right.
common sense, and we are
If you're
adults.
not-
We can decide for things ourselves. I mean, this is just my opinion.
I
But
just find it.
Right.
I'm sorry, go ahead, Sue.
but other people have said, well, yes, but we need to mandate these health things because we don't want people to run around and say, well, they don't want to take the ouchie and they refuse to wear masks because then the population is going to go silly willy nilly and get all sick and everything and stuff. So if we want to flatten the curve, everybody needs to comply to these things. And I said, but I wouldn't worry about it because we have something called an immune system, and it has been forgotten what the job of an immune system will do.
Well,
So there
not-
really is no major need to worry. Yes, there's people with pre-existing condition, then by all means, take all the precautions you wish, but that's your right.
And not to mention, they've changed the definitions for these things 3 times in the last 10 years.
Yeah.
They changed. They literally. It's not that these
Yep.
things have changed.
Yeah.
It's that they changed the definition itself in the dictionaries.
Yep. Dr. Bergman shows
What
that
is
on
that
that video
called?
too.
It's called wrong speak. 1984, wrong speak, double speak. Oh, I'm sorry, wrong thought. Right. All of a sudden, 2 + 2 = 5. Right. 1980, like remember 1984, George Orwell. They were talking about these things. We are going to you. What you knew is wrong because you were taught wrong. It's not that they were wrong. It's not because things were just done intentionally to be correct for them. Not that they're changing the goalposts or anything. It's just you were wrong. You were incorrect. Don't worry. We'll correct you. We'll make you feel better. We'll make you, be within this society again.
Well, they're doing all that with things that has to do with race. They're constantly changing the vocab, the words, and things like that.
Isn't it funny that one of the populations that are the lowest when it comes to these things are the same demographics that are generally considered, at risk minorities, like in New York. Okay, for example, New York. In New York, the two highest demographics. I'm not trying to point anybody out. I'm just going by what the numbers say. It's usually Blacks and Hispanics generally have a lower rate, generally due to culture and upbringing. It has nothing to do with education, has nothing to do with income, has nothing to do with religion or anything like that. It's just how they normally conduct themselves, what their culture is, and what their upbringing is. That is it. There is no political malice or economic malice here whatsoever. It's just I feel kind of annoyed that you have to even justify that.
Yeah.
It's just how it is. And so now these groups are being discriminated because now they can't go to businesses, they can't go to a church, they can't go to a dine-in restaurant or a grocery store because they haven't done something. So it's okay to discriminate that way, but they're not there. But they are obviously discriminated already, according to conventional thought. So it's okay to discriminate them one way, but not another.
Would it be fair to say that the beginning of the discrimination would actually be the one word called fear? Would that be fair to say? They use fear for discrimination because think about it. Were we really in a pandemic? Do you see what I mean? They picked that word and they used it against the public, and look what it's done. Just that word alone is so powerful that has sent all these people thinking a certain way.
Mm-hmm. Right. And you notice that they only talk about, well, if we only do this, it will do these things. And if we only do this, it will do that. Instead of saying, okay, we have these facts, right? We have this amount of percentage of people doing things. Once we hit this, we're in the clear. Right?
Yeah.
It's not that. It's just, oh, we need to do this. That we need to do this. Oh, we need to do this. Constantly moving over and over and over. Instead of saying, okay, we have this. We have run the numbers. We have figured out what we need to do. This is the path we're going to do. And once we achieve these things, we're in the clear.
Yeah.
I don't see that. I've talked to my own elected officials in town saying, okay, when are we going to go back to procedure as normal? They're like, oh, we can't do that yet. I'm like, okay, why? Oh, because it's a recommendation. I'm like, you guys are the people who run the town. I understand recommendation, but what is best for the town?
Right.
Yeah. Anyways, I digress.
Why do we have to go with these recommendations though? Why can't the recommendations be go with what the people recommend?
Or actually people start doing more research than just what spoon fed them. Because that's one of the things that I've noticed so much more. There's so much information out there.
You know what? Sometimes I think we need Karens. We need the Karens in here. The reason why we need Karens is because we take these recommendations. Like, well, I want a second opinion.
Yeah.
That's what you can do when it comes to medical practices. If you don't
Right.
like a doctor's recommendation, you go, well, let me get a second opinion, go to another doctor.
Hmm.
In this case, you can't do that because this monolithic structure is controlling everything. You can't just say, oh,
Everything.
well, I don't like this place, I'm going to go to this next place,
Yeah.
Pretty
because there's no
much.
competition.
Well, we've have been getting second opinions on all sorts of things, whether how to
Yeah.
handle the sickness, whether to wear the diaper, what about travel and how we handle things. We've been constantly getting second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth recommendation. Guess what's happened? They get silenced. They
Mm.
ban them. They take their post down. They take their site
We
down. They
lose
take
our
their page down.
jobs.
Yes, and
Yeah.
they get them fired. They throw them out. Some of them get to see iron bars and stripe or orange outfits. Um,
They're
it-
breaking
it's
they're breaking rocks in the yard.
so we have been getting
And we joke about it,
second,
but
third, fourth, and fifth opinions. It's just that we are living in a free country, and yet we do not have the freedom to hear these second, third, fourth, fifth, and sixth opinions on absolutely every subject. And so it is constantly being controlled. It's frustrating. And,
Indeed.
we should be allowed to decide for ourselves how things are run. All of these laws and rules that were written were to curb their behavior, the people that are in office is to curb their behavior. It's not to there to watch out for us. It's for them, because our founding fathers knew that they were going to go out and try to grab too much power. It has been done so many times, it's not even funny. And they have constantly still are trying to grab for power. The thing is, if you don't learn your history, you're going to fall for the same trick over and
Right.
over again. I feel like the society has became an etch a sketch. Draw out a certain type of picture and then shake it and it gets erased. That's what it feels like. People
Pretty
forget.
much.
Well,
Oh my
they have society has a very short attention span, and
goodness.
in a
They've
grand
even
scheme of
forgot what the original Biden looks like. And when I show people pictures of the original Joe Biden, people are like, oh, no, that's the same guy. I'm like, there's no way. No one's going to get surgery on their face that much. There's a
Right.
difference.
or age
And
that much in a
same
short
thing with
time.
Hillary and anyone else, I mean, it's just that it's just that people are not learning where they actually stand and how much power you actually have. So here, all of us truthers come out and stand and say, take your power back. Here, take it, take it, take it, take it, take it. And people are like, I don't know if I should be touching this. Here, let me go find someone and ask permission if I should take it. And I'm going, you're missing the
Yeah.
point.
Well, there was a quote in the book Dune. I think I've mentioned this quote several times. Has to do with fear, and the the quote goes, "Fear is the mind killer. It is the little death."
Really is.
And that's what it is. Fear controls you. If you let it consume you, it will control you. It will destroy you. It will occupy everything about you
Mhm.
until you realize that fear, if it is unfounded.
Well, and learning to master the emotions too is one thing I've
Mhm.
learned in the past, especially few months, this past couple of years. In the
Yeah.
face of adversity, the more that I've been able to, overcome and stand in my own power, I'm actually amazed with how calm I was yesterday talking with this director in the company that I was working. And because I used to be afraid of that kind of, that power. But really, yeah, it's a job loss. It sucks. I loved the job. The community there is great. It's a fucking amazing place to work. But I've found myself, and he can't take that away from me. He can't take who I am and my honor my joy, any of those things. You can't, and that's the thing that's so cool. And I think the more of us that can wake up to that, like what we've talked about in several shows with, finding that center and remaining calm. Because, right now, I don't know really what's going to happen. I don't have another job to fall back on. Monday, I'm supposed to be doing some stuff with job services. I haven't even been able to file for unemployment because the system is so weird right now. You have to keep verifying everything, and I'm in the middle of that still. So, yeah, things are not made very simple to do right now for people that may be struggling or not sure where to go. But in reality, when you're in the moment and you're really thinking about, where am I in this position? How do I feel? How's my family doing? Really, we're okay. And I think just reminding ourselves in that moment, just taking a deep breath and maybe acknowledging, 'cause there are those times when I feel a little anxious. Where's my rent coming from? I haven't worked in 10 days. And, those are very real things going through my mind at times. But I just have this feeling, this understanding, this knowing that everything's going to be okay.
Mhm.
And it always is. That's really how the law of attraction works. The more that we can stay calm, the more that we're able to feel and understand or have that knowing to know what path to take so that we can be taken care of. And Creator always takes care of us, which is really cool. So everyone,
Yeah,
stay
knowledge is
positive,
power.
right? Stay positive because we're winning this war. Sometimes the battles we get kicked around a little
I just wanted to mention something within the chat, and it came from Marianne, and she says we are being programmed to believe what we are being told, what we must be do, and the math makes us unsociable. We have to follow everyone else, or we're out of the clique.
bit.
I agree.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, you have to. It's just following who we are. It's the most important thing to do. That's actually very powerful, and it's just that as I just said a second ago, knowledge is power. If you gain the knowledge to be able to, you know, understand what is going on, it'll be easier to handle it. It'll be easier to, you know, keep not only take back your power, but to keep it. Because anybody can take back the power, but it's keeping it. So, and that's the key to things. And it's just, it's sad that people are still sleeping, but we hope that they wake. If they don't, there's prayers out there for them. You can always send love. And definitely number one thing is patience.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Mm.
One of the things I'm really grateful for is there's at least 14 people that I was able to meet and influence at that job that are now detoxing from that particular shot. And because they realize they haven't been feeling, well with it. And having the research that's out there. So, people keep looking, don't look on Google, look on like DuckDuckGo or something, because those things are being blocked. But a lot of these people are noticing a difference, getting detoxed, and it's making an impact. So don't think that just because you feel like you might be the only person standing up against the big bully or the big giant, that you're not having an effect on people, because we really do have a bigger effect on others than we realize.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Well, I think that's probably a good place to stop this week. Really awesome. Thank you so much, Alex, for your explanations. Always love your civics lessons. Sue always has, I love the great discussion and questions that you bring to the table. Always awesome things. Anybody out there that's struggling, just remember, keep your chin up. Um, there's a lot of us going through stuff, and I do mentoring. I'm NLP certified. Dr. Bloom, of course, is a psychologist. He's a doctor, PhD. So, and if anybody just needs to talk,
I think
Yeah,
it,
they
I
can
think
you
it,
can reach
contact
out
I
to
us.
think it's
any
gonna.
of us.
They,
I
I
think
mean, anybody can contact us actually. I'm at burpbubbles333 at gmail.com. That's BURPBUBBLES 333 at gmail.com. Anyone can email me. I'm also on Facebook. You can friend me. I won't bite. Well,
Yeah, she will.
mostly.
She bites hard. No, I'm kidding.
The best problem solvers at live.com. We're here. We have listening ears. Sometimes
You can
it's
just.
just knowing that someone
You
basically
need.
gets it.
We are all here for you guys. So any questions or dilemmas, write to
Look,
us. Call us.
I'm on a.
Bug us.
And if you need to talk to me, I'm more than happy to always have a wonderful conversation. I'm on Facebook and Twitter. Um, you'll know it from the Andrew Breitbart photo with the red eyes. That's my thing. I'm a big Breitbart fan. If you learn his story, you'll understand why. Um, but yeah, just my name, Alex Spielman. You're gonna notice it's gonna be it's I'm the only one with that design. Zara Lexi 45 is the tag. But by the way, I think Bloom, I believe he's a PSY. I think that's what he is.
I think so, yeah.
I think his doctorate. I think his doctorate's a PSY, not a PhD.
Oh, is that PSY? Okay.
PSY.
Right.
It's because of psychology versus medical.
Oh, right. True. Sometimes I get wrapped up in all the little details and that jazz.
Because I had a education
PSYD.
professor who that was an EDU. So.
Oh, right.
Is anyone else on Instagram or Twitter as well?
I am. I
all
just
of
don't
us-
check it very much.
Okay.
Just because lately I haven't even been on Facebook that much. I'm just kind of going back inside, meditating, getting
Yeah.
connected again. Plus, my boyfriend and I have gotten pretty close, and we're working on some music. It's fun. I'm in a band again. It's
Yeah.
been forever.
Awesome.
If you wanna, if you want a fun, if
Well,
you want a fun,
I'm on Instagram though. I'm on Instagram and Twitter, still under Sue McClure. So, on Facebook, I'm under SQQ McClure, and that's gotta be my 5th account by now.
Something like that.
I think that's something. If you want a Telegram account, I have a Telegram account. I will just do stuff with the chat and everything. It's under Contemptible Thoughts.
And I'm on Holding the Line in Telegram.
Right. Really quick too, just thinking about it. Anybody that's wanting any legal help, go to pacificjusticeinstitute.org. You can find that. Like I said, don't go to Google. Go to like DuckDuckGo or something. But the Pacific Justice Institute has everything that you need to do. You've got about 90 days grace period from the time that you've got your discrimination or violation of your rights. So whether you get fired or whatever happens, you've got 90 days to make your claim. So like, for instance, my official date was considered the 8th. That's what my employer signed off as far as my termination letter. And so Pacific Justice Institute, they've got specific things to follow if you're wanting to join into these litigations. They are suing the different states for violation of our rights, and those are going to the Supreme Court. So pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, awesome